Okay, hello, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are group 4 from Sofianisa Elmaulan Marita, Ibu Diri Mukti, Vania Alda Maitari, and Asmi Andini Megananda, moderator from presentation today. So today we are explanation about phonological rules. The first material will be presentation from Sofianisa. Sofianisa, time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Okay, in this slide I will to explain about what is phonological rules. Phonological rules are part of communication through language, whether spoken or written, and knowing what they are and what they exist can help us better understand our world. Understanding phonological rules is considered an important aspect in teaching English or working with people who have speech problems. Phonological rules describe how phonemes are realized as their allophones in given environment. Environment in phonology typically refers to neighbor phonemes. Phonological rules describe how a speaker goes from the abstract representation stored in their brain to the actual sound they articulate when they speak. In general, phonological rules start with the underlying representation of a sound, the phoneme that is stored in the speaker's mind, and the final surface from or what the speaker actually pronounced. Okay, so the next is phonological rules. The first is aspiration rules. The phonological rules tells what change to match which sound in which situation. So aspiration is process of adding an extra puff of air to sound. The aspiration rule in English says to aspirate voiceless stop sound at the beginnings of stressed syllable environment. Aspiration occurs on all voiceless stop occurring as the first sound in a stressed syllable. Also, aspirated stop and unaspirated stop are psychically different. We consider both to be the same sound. For English, aspiration is not employed to create a meaning difference. Maybe that's all from me. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Sofianisa, for the explanation about phonological rules meaning and aspiration rule. Next material will be delivered by Vania Alda Maiteri. Vania, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Okay, so I will explain about an aspiration rule. So, an aspiration rule is about the absence of that puff of air that is added on the pronunciation of voice stops. For the rule is voiceless stops, PTK, are unaspirated after S at the beginning of a syllable. For example, speed and spot. The next one is vowel lengthening or length in English. Vowels are lengthened before voiced consonant. For example, theme and pitch. Vowel lengthening in English is a phonological process that describes exactly what happened to certain vowels and why or how they become lengthened long in a certain phonological context. Next slide, please. Okay, so for nasalization rule, Nasalization rule is about nasalizing a vowel that is actually in its primary articulation is oral, not nasalized. But that vowels becomes nasalized in very specific environment whenever they are followed by a consonant or nasal. For the rule of nasalization rule is a vowel get nasalized in the environment before a nasal segment, possibly followed by a consonant in the same syllable. For example, clock and gun. Assimilation rule. Assimilation rule is about when a sound affects another adjacent sound. It's exactly when a sound beat a vowel or consonant try to look similar to another adjacent sound by taking the feeder. Assimilation rule have two rules. The first rule is a voice segment becomes voiceless when the preceding segment is voiceless. For example, pats, and reads. The second rule is the prefix in become ink when it occurs before a velar consonant and becomes in before a bilabial. For example, inapplicable and imbalance. The next one is dissimilation rule. Dissimilation rule is the second fricative of a fricative cluster is replaced by the corresponding stop. Use minus alpha, the opposite in value to another sound. So the symbol of alpha is like in the slide. For example, 5th and February. Okay, so that's all for me. I give it back to Moderator.
Thank you, Vania, for the explanation about unaspiration rule, vowel slang in English, nasalization rule, assimilation rule, and dissimilation rule. Next material will be delivered by me. Next slide, please. So, next rule is the voicing rule. It is exactly about making voice consonant voiceless. So when you change voice consonant to voiceless consonant, so this is typical case of what we call devoicing. Jadi devoicing ini adalah sebuah phonological rules yang mana dari konsonan yang bersuara ketika disebutkan menjadi tidak bersuara. Konsonan itu tidak bersuara ketika sudah kita ucapkan. Sebuah devoicing ini biasanya ditandai dengan ada lingkaran kecil di bawah huruf konsonan itu. Bisa kita lihat contoh di slide ini. Untuk contoh bisa kita lihat yang pertama yaitu initial devoicing atau biasa disebut dengan devoicing awal, yaitu getaran pita suara yang terdengar di akhir seperti b, d, dan g. Contoh katanya yaitu ada beep, did, dan gig. Final devoicing or the syllable final stops atau pemberhentian akhir suku kata tanpa terdengar apapun contohnya. Di sini contohnya ada p, dan ke. Contohnya ada pada kata lap, said, sat, back, and back. Next rule is labialization rule. When we say labialization, we are talking about making a sound roundness. However, its primary articulation does not require roundness or it's precisely when a vowel is imposing its roundness, further in the predicting consonant. However, the predicting consonant does not actually need any roundness in its primary articulation. Jadi, labialization rule ini adalah sebuah phonological yang prosesnya membutuhkan pembulatan dalam mengucapkan sebuah kata. Contoh kata yang saya sajikan di sini ada dog. Di situ kita bisa lihat kalau menyebutkan dog di suara kita bulat yaitu dog, dan juga mouth. Next rule is palatalization rule. Palatalization rule refers to the process of sound change in which non-palatal consonant, like ke, change to a palatal consonant, like je or se. Di sini bisa kita lihat contohnya yaitu child, child jadi child. Skype jadi ship. Next slide please. Next rule is glottalization rule. Glottalization rule is the complete or partial closure of the glottis during the articulation of another sound. Di sini bisa kita lihat contohnya, yaitu not now jadi not now. Jadi glottalization rule ini adalah akhir kata kita menjadi stop. Di sini ada not now, di situ ada huruf not, di situ tidak kita sebutkan menjadi not now. And the last is department menjadi department. And the last is epenthesis rule. Epenthesis rule is the insertion of an extra sound in a word. Jadi di sini bisa kita lihat contohnya, ada black menjadi black and drawer menjadi drawer. And that's all for my explanation about phonological rules. Next material will be delivered by Andini Imbu Giri Mukti. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So for the next material will be explained by me. Insertion rule. In this kind of process, sounds are added which are not in pronunciation or slow spelling, or the phonological process in which sounds are added to words. For example, when we say the word hamster at a regular speed, most of us will say and hear hamster with a P. This is due to voiceless insertion, where between nasal consonant and voiceless fricative. Voiceless insertions with the same articulation place as the nasal consonants are inserted. This can be confusing when teaching spelling, especially for foreign speakers who don't have a history of reading and hearing English words. For example, of insertion, except insert the letter P in the word hamster, we insert the letter W when we want to pronounce the word question and quick. And then the addition rule. These rule syllables ending in a vowel or suffix M are not pronounced or deal if the syllable is at the end of the word. If a vowel or syllable ending in suffix M is inherently long, it's usually want to be omitted. Mostly, a long vowel at the end of a word comes before a vowel at the beginning of the next word. But in the case of O, U, and I, it sometimes happens that the result is like the addition of a consonant P or G. The omission of sound syllables or words in speech is done to make the language easier to pronounce and faster. For example, the sentence I don't know, be I do know, cameras, be camera. And then, next slide please. Deletion rule is pronunciation process where sounds are left off. For example, when pronouncing the word police, the word often sounds like please and may be confused with please if one is not used to hearing voice S. This unstressed vowel deletion is fairly common in fast speech and can be confusing to non-native listeners in ESL context. We often hear words long before they need to spell them. And we can predict the environment in which phonemes or allophones will occur. We can write a rule that represents their execution. The general form of a phonological rule is A becomes B following C and preceding B. For example, the word right and right, rope and rope. And then metathesis rules, they are less common, but they do exist. Metathesis occurs when two consonants in a syllable are placed in a different order. They may simply swap place with other consonants or be shifted to different positions. In some dialects of English, for example, the word as is pronounced as, but the question word is pronounced asking. In this dialect, the rules of metathesis replace S and K in certain contexts. Rearrangement of two consonants in a syllable, for example, the word desk and desk. Metathesis also involves the participation of a two-member consonant group. Instead of the consonant substitution phrases, there are shifts to both sides of the vowel. Insert, It involves the resequencing of two consonant clusters and vowel combinations to produce syllables. With the process, the consonant order usually remains unchanged, or the first consonant in the cluster is the first consonant in the syllable, and the second consonant in the cluster is the second consonant in the syllable. An example is the word play, manifested as fail, where the second consonant of the initial group is placed after the main vowel. For example, the word play, be pale. And then coalescence rule. Coalescence is a change in sound in which two or more segments with distinctive features merge into one segment. This can occur in both consonant and vowels. Most cases of coalescence cause allophonic variation. Although some segment strengths can lead to completely different phonemes, coalescence is a special kind of assimilation. With all the other types of assimilation discussed earlier, it is usually the consonant on the left or the right that has the dominant influence on the other side. In coalescence, the two consonants influence each other and merge to form a new consonant often every case. Iode coalescence. This type of coalescence involves mixing or combining an alveolar plosive or fricative, followed by a semi-G vowel and a back vowel, either U, or O. Union of alveolar plosive or fricatives can also occur between word boundaries. This is generally manifest in the form of the pronoun you, such as in would you, could you, should you, and did you. For example, the phrase got you is pronounced like gotcha. And then eucoalescence. Eucoalescence also involves the alveolar plosive or fricative combination and is usually U in spelling, but without the graphic indication of the intervening semi-vowel. Y usually appears in words such as tone, done, luck, century, natural, unordinary, mixture, factor, image, pleasure, creature, opportunity, situation, actually, pleasure, or treasure in the speech of many speakers in English. Okay, so I think that's all from me. I'll give back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mukti, for the explanation about insertion rule, elision rule, deletion rule, metathesis rule, and coalescing rule. So that's all from our presentation today. Thank you for attention and listening. Thank you, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.